Hi, thanks for choosing to flow with me. Let's begin in Shavasana. So come to lie down on the mat. And making sure you're tucking each shoulder blade in and opening out through the chest. And palms are nice and even either side of the hips. Palms facing to the sky, close your eyes over. Making sure the feet are to each corner of the mat. Just creating a slight openness through the hips. And just checking into each side of the body. Making sure you're lying evenly here. And just beginning to tap into the breath. Use our breath to help us center. Not just physically, but also emotionally. Using our breath to help us draw inwards. As you lie here, notice the gentle rising and falling of the chest. Notice the expansion and deflation of the ribcage. Just allowing yourself to arrive. And as you continue to create those nice, slow and steady breaths, you're going to just bring the feet together. Then transition into happy baby. So draw the right knee in towards the chest. And either take the hand around the sole of the foot or the back of the thigh, just depending how open you are in the hips. And hand can either be to the inside or to the outside of the leg. Just sense what the self-preference there. And you can close your eyes over again. Just continuing to draw inwards. Checking in with how this right side feels. Releasing into right side glutes. The back of the thigh. And just finding that softness through the elbow. Draw your knee towards the armpits. Thigh drawing alongside the ribcage. Sole of the foot facing to the ceiling. And pay equal attention to your left side. Magnetizing the hip bone towards the mat to open through hip space. Keeping left shoulder blade connected to the air. Now release there, take the left hand to the outside of the right knee, draw the knee across the body over towards the left side. Trying to keep right side shoulder blade connected to the air to open through the chest. So just taking a moment to stretch into the outer hip on the right side. And just feel that nice release in the glute med. Continuing to create nice, slow, steady breaths. Creating a softness within. Inhale, draw the knee to the center. And then extend the right foot down onto the mat, coming back into Shavasana for a moment. Arms either side of the torso, palms facing to the sky. As you come back into your center point, just checking into how you're feeling. Noticing differences between right sides and left. Now repeating the same in the left side, so draw the knee into the chest and either hand to the back of the thigh or the sole of the foot. And as you begin to open out through the left side, maybe noticing differences to how one side feels compared to another. Maybe one side is more open than another. So in your practice, just taking each side as it comes, having no expectations for one to the other. Just making sure backs of the shoulder blades are continuing to connect to the mat so that you're creating as much space in the chest for the breath to circulate. Keep active through the right thigh. And release there, take right hand to the outside of the left knee and draw the knee across the body over towards the right side. And you'll just find a natural twist through the spine here, just allow that to happen. Easing out into the outer hip on the left side. And then draw back to the center. Find Shavasana one more time as you just come back to that point, that familiar point. Noticing yourself having hopefully balanced out now, feeling more even. Flutter eyes open and then float your shins so they're parallel with the mat. Now as you do this here, make sure you're magnetizing the tailbone towards the sternum so you're flattening into the lower back. Place your hands to the bottom of the thighs, so closest to the knees. And then we're just going to begin to start to awaken the deep muscles in the core, so tapping into the transverse abdominis. Really pushing the hands into the knees and the knees into the hands. Keeping the chin drawing into the chest, finding space through the back of the neck. And just starting to fire up through the core, feeling it awakening. Now keep that nice engagement, begin to inhale, take the hands up towards the sky. Try not to dome out your spine here, you want to keep imprinting lower back into the mat. Take the right arm overhead and straighten the left leg down towards the air. Inhale, find your center points. Now right leg straightens as left arm draws overhead. And inhale, come to the center. Right arm, left leg. Inhale, center. Right leg, left arm. Inhale, center. Right arm, left leg. Inhale to the center. Left arm, right leg. Center. Let's go one more time each side, so right arm, left leg. Inhale to the center. Right arm, left leg. Inhale to the center. Now you're going to lift the head and shoulders off the mat. Keep feeling this engagement through the core, straighten through the left leg and take the left arm to the outside of the right thigh. Come back to the center. Twist over towards the left side. Inhale, center. Twist to the right. Come to the center. Twist to the left. Center. Right. Center. One more time over towards the left side. Inhale, come to the center. Release head and shoulders, draw the knee into the chest, clasp hands around the shins and just take a gentle rock from side to side. Now hands come to the backs of the thighs, take an inhale, drop onto the tailbone, crown of the head reaches to the ceiling. Grow nice and tall, lengthen through the spine and cross the feet. Place hands down onto the mat and come into an all fours. Bring big toes together, sit back into child's pose as you draw the tailbone towards the heels and rest your forehead down onto the mat. Taking a moment aligning through the spine. Reaching tailbone in the opposite direction from the crown of the head. Then reaching fingertips even further away from the tailbone. Making sure right side rib cage is just as lengthened as left side rib cage. Slowly begin to ripple through the spine, come all the way into cat, so taking the shoulders above the wrists, arching here. Then keep the shoulders above the wrists, lower hips to the earth, gaze to the ceiling into a gentle upward facing dog. Either roll over the toes or drop down onto the knees as you come into downward facing dog. I'm really thinking about descending the heels towards the mat and lifting hips high to the sky. Maybe adding a little sway of the hips or a pedal of the feet. Just feeling that nice release down the back body. But making sure you're pressing evenly between right hand and left hand and grounding down evenly through right heel and left heel. And then lift the gaze, rise up onto the balls of the feet, bend the knees, come through to the front of the mat. Exhale, melt into a forward fold. Then press into the feet, rise to standing, sweep the hands all the way to the ceiling. And draw the thumbs to heart center. Inhale, rise the hands to the sky. Exhale, fold from the hips. Come into a forward fold. Soften into the knees, take a big step back with the left foot as you find a runner's lunge. Now in this runner's lunge, maybe widening your stance a little bit. So shuffling your left foot even further back. And then take a sway forward and back and side to side as you just open up your hips a little bit more. Grounding down into the right foot, rooting down evenly through all four corners. Press into the feet, inhale, rise up into a high lunge. So sweep the hands up towards the ceiling. Now noticing here as your feet are a little bit further away from one another than they normally would be, noticing how it maybe throws off your balance a little bit more. And if you feel your front leg wobbling, that's fine. It's just your leg finding its stability, finding its center point. You're going to slowly straighten through the front leg. Root down into the feet, fold forward, sweep your hands back. Now take a big inhale, bend down into the front knee, take the hands to the sky, find your high lunge. Let's do that again, straighten through the front leg, come into an active split. Hands draw back as torso melts down. Soften into the front knee, come back into your high lunge. Let's do that one more time, front leg straightens, rise up, melt forward. Come back into a high lunge and one big inhale. Exhale, frame the front foot. Push into the hands, step back plank. Taking a moment here, making sure you're nice and stable. Then just drop down onto the knees, untuck toes, sit back into child's pose. Inhale, come into all fours. Tuck your toes. Hover your knees just ever so slightly off the mat. Making sure here you're nice and level. Shoulders are stacked above the wrists. Now you're going to extend the right hand forward. Keep yourself nice and level. Release the hand down. Keep yourself as centered as possible. Take the left hand forward. Release down. Keeping left knee hovering, begin to lift the right foot up to the ceiling. And release it down. Inhale, lift the left foot to the ceiling. Draw the knee to the chest, set the foot through between the hands, walk the hands to the middle of the longer end of the mat, and find a wide leg forward fold. Just trying to tilt your tailbone up towards the ceiling, lengthening into the backs of the legs. And maybe seeing how it feels walking your hands a little bit further back. Maybe a sway from side to side, just doing anything that you feel your body needs to awaken it through the back line. Now angle toes out slightly, transition into a goddess pose. So feet are angled out, push down into the feet, reach the crown of the head to the ceiling, and then take hands to heart center. So here, really important to make sure the knees are facing in the same direction as the toes. So think about engaging through your inner thighs, drawing these knees open. Now you're going to straighten into the right leg and then bend further into the left knee. Come to the center. Straighten into the left leg, sink down into the right knee. Come to the center, then sway over towards the left side. Find your center. Sway to the right side. To the center. To the left. Center. To the right. Center. Now you're going to take an inhale, rise up onto the balls of the feet. Testing your stability, testing your balance a little bit more. Make sure those knees are tracking open. Take the hands to the sky. Keep rising onto the heels if you can. Swivel on both feet, finding a high lunge. That front foot lowers down, so rooting down into the foot, keep the front knee bent. Find Utkatasana, chair pose at the front of the mat. So both knees meet together. Both knees are bent, lift through the chest. Palms are still spinning in towards one another. Biceps are wrapping alongside the ears. Maybe taking another exhale, sinking further down. Now you're going to root down into the right foot. Take the left knee to the chest. Ankle comes on top of the thigh and sink a little bit deeper down. Keep rooting here. Keep reaching out through the fingertips, so finding your standing pigeon. Maybe sinking a little bit deeper, opening further into the hip space. Now you're going to slide this foot to the outside of the standing foot and come into a little fold. Lowering the head to the earth. Trying to tilt the tailbone up towards the ceiling. And just taking a couple of breaths here. Releasing into the outer hip. And just targeting the IT band. And don't worry, this is meant to be quite tight here, so don't stress too much if you're feeling a little bit tense in this part of the body. Now just coming into a normal Uttanasana, so step the insides of the feet together and come into a fold. Press into the feet, rise to standing, sweep the hands up to the ceiling, bring the hands together. And take thumbs to heart center. Inhale, hands reach to the sky. Exhale, find your fold. Lower hands down. Take a big bend into the knees, this time right foot steps back. Finding your runner's lunge. And again, if you want to test your balance a little bit, walk that foot slightly further back. Then having a play around with swaying from side to side and forward and back. And just opening out into your hips a little bit more. Now come back to that center point, press down into the feet, inhale, rise, high lunge. And again, just embracing any wobbles as your body finds its center point. Make sure back thigh is nice and engaged and toes and knees are facing in the same direction. Root down into the left foot, straighten through the front leg. Sweep hands back as torso melts down. Bend back down into the front knee, sweep hands up towards the ceiling, find your high lunge. Active split, straighten through the leg and almost feel like you can split the mat with your feet here, so nice and active through the legs. Sweep hands back, torso melts down. Bend back down into the front knee, sweep the hands up to the sky, doing that one more time, straighten through the front leg. Coming into a wide pyramid. Inhale, reach hands back up, high lunge. Exhale, frame the front foot. Push into the hands, step back plank. Take an extra in-breath here, feel your upper back puffing up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, drop down onto the knees, untuck toes, sit back into child's pose. Inhale, come into all fours. Toes tuck. Hover your knees slightly, so coming into a floating tabletop now. Making sure those knees are just kissing the air. Keep them just hovering away from the mat. And release your left hand forward, and again, trying not to knock over towards the right side. And release the hand down, and with as little movement as possible, extend your right hand forward. And release that hand down. Now left leg lifts. Foot releases down. Right leg lifts. Now draw the knee into the chest. Step the foot through between the hands. Walk the hands to the middle of the longer end of the mat, and once again find your wide leg forward fold. Noticing perhaps less tension this time in the back body. Noticing more length in the hamstrings. Maybe hands can come slightly further back. Angle toes out again, root down into the feet, rise back in to your goddess pose. Hands come to heart center. And once again, just take a moment, feel yourself grounding down through the feet and feel yourself nice and centered here. So crown of the head should be directly above the tailbone. Both knees should be nice and open, facing in the same direction as the toes. Let's sway over towards the left side. Come to the center. Sway to the right. To the center. Left side. Center, try maybe to get a little bit lower over towards the right side. Center. One more time each way, so draw into the left. Center. To the right. Center, take a big breath in, rise the hands up towards the ceiling, then lift your heels off the mat. Grow nice and tall, but still feeling this downward movement from the hips down. You're going to swivel on both feet, come into a high lunge, still keeping that heel lifted. Then lower the heel down, allow left foot to meet right, and come into Utkatasana chair at the front of the mat. Grounding down here, feeling your thighs maybe burning slightly now, keeping chest nice and open. Now you're going to take the right knee into the chest. Take the ankle on top of the thigh and exhale, come into standing pigeon. Right knee directs to the ear, hip opens nicely. And the further you sink down into the left knee, the more openness you're going to create in your hip here. Take one more out breath, maybe sinking a little bit deeper. Slide right foot to the outside of the left and exhale, come into a little fold. Just tapping into the IT band on the other side. Creating this nice space. Creating a nice release. Then inside edge of the feet meet together. Come into a fold at the front of the mat. Inhale, rise all the way to standing, sweep the hands to the ceiling, but this time lift your heels off the mat. Rise up into high mountain. Just embracing any wobbles again. Tucking the tailbone down, lengthening through the spine. And then lower your heels, fold from the hips, come back into a fold. Soften into the knees, step back into a runner's lunge with the right leg leading. And again, if you want to, adjusting your feet, we are going to take it up a notch. So do this bravely. Push down in and rise up in to your high lunge. So this time you've got the option of rising up onto the ball of the foot, lifting your heel as high as it will go. Straighten through that front leg. Still keeping heels lifted. If you can, sweep your hands back. And inhale, rise back into your high lunge. Find a little twist now. So left hand comes forward, right hand comes back. Slide back hand down the back leg, front hand comes to the sky. Take an inhale, reach the right hand up to the ceiling, return to the center. Front leg straightens. Sweep hands back, melt torso forward. Rise back into your high lunge. Exhale, find the twist. Back hand releases down the back leg. Right hand comes to the sky. One more time with that there, front leg straightens. Sweep hands back. Inhale, rise back up. Find your twist. Then recline. Inhale, center. Release the front heel. Straighten through the leg, melt your torso down towards the thigh, just taking a moment in wide pyramid. Seeing how it feels to lift your toes off the mat for a moment. Maybe targeting more of the calf as well as the hamstring. And release your toes down, plant your hands either side of the front foot, step back into plank. Holding here for a moment. Making sure shoulders are above the wrists. So we're going to repeat the same thing as we did in all fours, but this time in plank. Now if this is too much, just come into your all fours and repeat the same. So finding that nice level point and begin to extend the right hand forward. Lower the hand. Left hand comes forward. Lower. Right leg lifts. Lower. Left leg lifts. Draw the knee to the chest. Step the foot through between the hands. Walk hands to the middle of the longer end of the mat. Find your wide leg forward fold. And again, just noticing any more openness third time right. Hands maybe walk a bit further back again. Take a big breath in. And a big exhale. Angle toes out, root down into the feet. Inhale, come into your goddess. And again, just being mindful of your knees, making sure they're tracking open. Take hands to heart center. So this time you're either going to repeat the same, so straightening through one leg or the other, and then the other, or you're going to come a bit deeper, so coming all the way into Skandasana. So if you're coming into Skandasana, you're sinking all the way down into the knee, straightening through that leg, then lowering the foot, powering off of it, and then coming back to the center. So let's try that, going to the back of the mat first. Inhale to the center, then travel to the front of the mat. Inhale to the center. Draw to the back, to the center, draw to the front, and center, to the back, center, front, center. Stay in goddess for a moment. Inhale, rise the hands up to the ceiling. Peel your heels off the mat. Now, really important to make sure your feet are in line here and the knees are still angled out. You're going to pivot towards the front. Keep that front heel lifted. Come back into goddess. Pivot to the front. Open back into goddess. Pivot to the front. Open back into goddess. Pivot to the front one more time. Lower the front heel down. Step through into Utkatasana. Firing up through those quads even more. Keep lengthening out through the fingertips. Ground down through the right foot. Take a big inhale, draw the left knee to the chest. Then take the ankle on top of the thigh. Standing pigeon once again. Making sure your hips are nice and level. Then maybe finding more depth sinking down into the knee. Now you're going to try and straighten through the front leg and draw the hands down towards the mat. Now if you've got a block and you want to use it, you can place your hands onto this block just to rise the mat up to you. And just finding stability through the right ankle. Keep opening out through the left knee. And now big bend into the right knee, finding that standing pigeon once again. Slide left foot to the outside of the right and come into that fold. Taking a couple of breaths. Nice soothing breaths. Nice releasing breaths. Left foot comes to the inside of the right, exhale into another fold. Inhale, high mountain press into the feet, lift the heels off the mat, hands come to the sky. And exhale, lower the heels down, fold from the hips, draw the hands all the way to the earth. Find a softness into the knees, step back with the right foot. And coming into your runner's lunge with the left leg leading. When you're ready, take an inhale, rise up into high lunge. Again, option of lifting your front heel off the mat. Lifting it as high as you can. Then straighten through the front leg. Sweep hands back, melt torso to the thigh. Bend down into the front knee. Take hands to the ceiling. Right hand comes forward, left hand comes back as you make your way into a twist. Back hand down the back leg, front hand to the sky. Left hand reaches up. Straighten through the front leg. Sweep hands back, torso melts to the thigh. Inhale, high lunge. Exhale, twist. Follow that with a recline. And meet back at your center point. Last time, front leg straightens. Hands sweep back. Bend down into the front knee. Exhale, twist. Recline. Center. Release the heel. Straighten through the leg, melt into little pyramid pose. Hips are square, so really trying to peel the left hip back so the right hip can come forward. Leveling off your hips. Then dig the heel into the mat, lift the toes up towards the ceiling and almost feel like you're dragging the left heel back. Intensifying that stretch through the back of the leg. Bend down into the front knee, place the foot down onto the mat, hands round the foot. Push into the hands, step back into plank. And just holding your plank for a moment. Shoulders above the ribs. Leveling off here. Then extend the left hand forward. And release it. Right hand extends forward. And release. Lift the left leg. Release. Keeping the hips level, lift the right leg. Draw the knee to the chest. Step the foot through between the hands. One last time in your wide leg forward fold, so swiveling on both feet. Exhaling here. Making sure outer edges of the feet are aligning with the outer edges of the mat. Taking a couple of breaths, just tapping into the back body. Big inhale, finding a little bit more space. And exhale. Angle toes out slightly, push down into the feet, inhale. Find your last goddess of the practice. Taking hands to heart center. Making sure knees are opening. Coming into Skandasana to the back of the mat, or you've got the option of just straightening the legs slightly. So draw to the back of the mat, whichever option you've chosen. Inhale, come to the center. Sink down into the right side. Draw to the center. Come to the left side. Center. Right side. Center one more time each way. Draw to the left side. Center. Keeping as low as you can. Draw to the right. To the center. Push down into the feet, straighten the hands up towards the ceiling. Keep your knees drawing open. Lift your heels. Now, important to make sure your feet are in line. You're going to swivel to a high lunge. And then open back out into goddess. Swivel, high lunge. Open out, goddess. Oh, that's me even wobbling. Swivel to your high lunge. Lower the front foot. Come through into Utkatasana. Chest is open. Sinking down into the knees. Now ground down into the left foot. You're going to draw the right knee to the chest. Take the ankle on top of the thigh and sink down. Spending a moment here. Just opening through the hips, finding your stability. And then begin to straighten through the standing leg and come into a little fold. Still directing your right knee open just to find as much space through the hips as you can. Lift up into the arch of the standing foot. Now bend back down into that knee, finding standing pigeon one more time. Stabilizing here. Slide the right foot to the outside of the left and exhale into a fold. Taking another couple of soothing breaths here. Inhaling deeply and exhaling deeply. Step the right foot to the inside of the left, exhale into a fold. Press into the feet, rise to standing, lifting up onto the balls of the feet one more time. And drawing all the way back into Uttanasana. Bend into the knees, plant your hands firmly down onto the mat, step back into plank. Holding this here, making sure hips are nice and level. And then begin to lift the left hand. Release it down. Right hand. Release. Left foot. Release. Right foot. Step the right foot all the way to the outside of the mat, so take it quite wide here as we set up for lizard. Then when you're ready, lower the back knee down. Now, important here to make sure you're on the front of the knee rather than on the kneecap. So almost as if you're on your quadricep rather than actually on the knee. Now, self-preference, maybe angling your toes out slightly or keeping them drawing forward. Just make sure the knee is directly above the ankle. And just taking a moment, maybe swaying from side to side. Opening out into the hips. And if you've got a block handy, you can use your block. You can take your forearms down onto the block. If you've not got a block, maybe even finding a couple of books. And if it's in your reach, you might want to take the forearms all the way down onto the mat. And if you feel like your knee is going to have a tendency to draw inwards, I want you to think about drawing slightly over towards the right leg, connecting the shoulder into the knee and almost using the shoulder to push the knee open. Make sure it still stays stacked above the ankle though. Lengthen into the back of the neck. Feel your hips sinking further and further to the air. So releasing into the right glute. Lengthening into left side hip flexor. Noticing any changes in your breath as you begin introducing more restorative postures into your practice. Noticing the breath slowing down. Noticing it lengthening. Making sure your jawline is soft. Your cheeks are soft. And you're relaxing the space in between the eyebrows. And let's take 2 more breaths. So inhaling for 3. Exhaling for 3. Inhale for 3. And exhale for 3. Place the hands below the shoulders, straighten into the arms. Begin to roll onto the outer edge of the foot. Take right hand to the inside of the right knee and gently draw the knee further to the air. And just creating a release deeper into the hips now. And really pushing into the left hand, creating a nice openness through the torso. Peel right side shoulder back and right side ribcage back. And then release the sole of the foot down, but angle toes out slightly. Place the hand down onto the mat, tuck back toes under. Hop the left foot to the outside of the left hand and sink all the way down into your malasana. Hands are together in front of the chest, tailbone is directly below the crown of the head. You're reaching the crown of the head to the sky. Maybe taking a nice sway from side to side. And then place hands firmly down onto the mat, push down into the hands, jumper step back into a plank. Holding this here for a moment. Finding that center point, finding your alignment. Right hand reaches forward. Lower it down. Left hand comes forward. Lower it down. Right foot. Lower. Left foot lifts. Step the left foot to the outside of the left hand and lower your back knee down. Making sure you've got space between the front heel and the back knee, just to target that quadricep a little bit more. Hands are placed below the shoulders for now, taking a moment swaying from side to side. Keep lengthening into the back of the neck. Checking your alignment on the left knee, making sure knee is stacked directly above the ankle. And then maybe taking your forearms onto something that you can rise the mat up to if you don't have a block. Using a block if you've got one, or taking the forearms all the way down onto the mat. And just like the other side, melt away the tension. Using the breath to allow you to do so. Try not to hunch through the shoulders. I want you to broaden through the chest, almost feel like you're squeezing the shoulder blades together. Breathing softly, without any constrictions of the breath. And now place the hands below the shoulders, straighten into the arms. Roll onto the outer edge of the foot, take left hand to the inside of the knee, push into the right hand as you create that nice rotation. Squeeze the shoulder blades open through the chest. Crown of the head reaches forward, tailbone reaches back. I'm just trying to get that nice balance of not pressing your knee hard down to the mat, but just enough so that you can create a nice bit of space there. And then lower the sole of the foot down, but angling toes out, place hand down onto the mat. Tuck back toes, lift the knee off, hop right foot to the outside of the right hand, sink down into your malasana, low squat. And just adjusting your feet accordingly so that heels are firmly down onto the mat. If that means you need to wriggle your feet out slightly more to sink down, then go ahead and do so. So just taking a moment adjusting there. Palms are together, forearms are parallel with the mat, and as you press the palms into one another, you'll notice your elbows pressing into the insides of the knees and the hips just opening a little bit more. Sway from side to side again, or just staying still, whatever feels better for you. Listening to your body. And then just placing your hands down, lowering your sit bones down. And just bring the soles of the feet together, setting up for Baddha Konasana. Taking hands around the soles of the feet. Big breath in, lift through the chest. And then as you exhale, begin to melt the torso down in the direction of the mat. And just allowing your knees to ease to the earth. Creating this release through the inner thighs. And maybe you can hear your breath at the back of the throat. Ujjayi breathing breath with sound. Sometimes we use that breath in our practice to fire up the body, to send energy throughout it. Other times we use it to soothe us, to melt us further into a posture, to melt away tension. So inhaling deeply. Exhaling deeply. Inhale. And then exhale. And then just uncurling the spine. Now to target into the outer hips. So take the right knee so that it's behind the right shin bone behind the left shin bone, crossing your feet, and depending how open your hips are, you might want to walk your feet a little bit further away. Then take an exhale, come into a little fold. And hopefully feeling this through the outer hips. And continuing to melt away any tension that you're holding on to in your hip space. Targeting each muscle that constructs our hips, that facilitates the movement in our body. Let's hold this for another 3 breaths. So inhaling for 3. Exhaling for 3. Inhale for 3. Exhale for 3. One more inhale. And one more exhale. Walk your hands back and uncurl the spine. And just switch the leading leg now. Again, adjusting your feet accordingly. Take an in-breath, lengthen through the spine, and as you exhale, come back into that little fold. And don't worry if hands or forearms don't reach the mat, even just taking your hands onto your knees and creating that nice hinge from the hips, just as long as you're creating some hinge from the hips to create a nice release through the outer hips. And I don't want to, well, I'm not going to see it, but think about hunched shoulders. I want you to open through the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Maintaining a nice softness through the body. And allowing us to stretch on. And let's take one more big in breath. And one more big out breath. And then just uncurl the spine. And if you've got time and you want to come into a Shavasana, you're very welcome to do that afterwards. Just maybe set a little timer for 5 minutes. Get yourself nice and comfy, making sure you're nice and warm. Even maybe playing some relaxing music and allow yourself to seal off the practice that way. If you're a bit time pressed and want to just finish your practice, just coming with me, sitting down onto the mat and just closing your eyes for a moment. So if you feel like your life is maybe drawing you in all different directions right now, hopefully this practice will allow you to recenter, creating that grounding feeling, and finding stability not only physically but also emotionally. Giving yourself a moment to give yourself gratitude for coming onto your mat. And saying thank you. And rise the hands to the sky, bring palms together. Allow thumbs to draw onto the crown of the head. Take them between the eyebrows to the third eye. And then to the heart center. As you exhale, gently bow your head. Om Shanti. And thank you so much for choosing to do that little flow with me. I'll hopefully see you soon. Bye.